Welcome to Private Equity Vox. I am Antoine. With 20 years of experience in fund management, I created PE Cube to provide a tailored digital services that matches the ambition of private equity professionals. For the occasion of IPEM Paris 2024, we created, in partnership with IPEM, a special series, IPEM PE Hub. In this episode, we explore the central theme of IPEM, forging confidence, by asking our guests what our private equity industry should do to continue its growth. Join us to dive in those 3 inspiring days in Paris, gathering the private equity community, discover the perspectives of our guests, and let's cross our opinions of our vibrant industry. Antoine, Colson, CEO and managing partner of IPEM, how can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
Well, I think it's a lot about being loyal to its roots, to its DNA. I think private capital is first putting capital to work, to be transformative, and in a way entrepreneurial. So I think keeping in mind that the job of every GP here at IPEM and in the world is to put money, capital at work to deliver this outcome, transformation, innovation, is, I think, a recipe for future success. And something else that's part of, I think, the DNA, the very roots of private capital is the alignment, the strong partnership that's been designed from the beginning between LPs and GPs. And right now, in the current environment, I think there are very candid discussions to have around valuations, around liquidity. They have to be as transparent as possible. I would say even fully transparent. And I think there's some innovations also to bring to the market so that this partnership enters another stage. I think that's the other factor of success that private capital needs to build on in the future as well.
Jean-Philippe Richaud, CIO, Chief Investment Officer and co-founder of Swen Capital Partners. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
If we take the example of Swen, we just became Société à Mission, purpose-driven company last year, with a strong conviction that the new normality for a private equity fund is to measure positive impact that private equity fund may have on companies, on employees, on the environment through the investment, and negative impact as well. Similarly, to evaluate the measures that could be taken to avoid this impact and to improve the overall way of working of companies and infrastructure that we finance. And so for us, with the strong conviction goes with this transformation at Swen that all private equity fund should put in place this measurement just to get a license to operate in the near future, just because it would become mandatory for most of the private equity players. We have a strong conviction that private markets are at the heart of the transformation of our companies and economies. We have the full power and the full support from investors to do so. So impact-driven organization is probably the key element to strengthen the private equity forces.
Rémi Matuszewski, partner at Esslink Capital. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
I feel that private equity is now perfectly accepted by all economic players. The thing to strengthen and to enhance the transactions may be the capacity to be liquid, and because some of the limits underlined by players is the liquidity. And so there are initiatives to develop second market or listed market or secondary market. So I feel that the secondary market, which is currently developing fast, is one of the solutions. The second one is regulatory. There are a lot of players, such as insurance companies, which are limited by ratios, especially in Europe. And so I feel that we have a lobbying work to do on European institutions to move the limit, the ratios, and to put the capacity to have more money on private equity. But on the whole, what makes me very optimistic about private equity is that there is a real recognition of its useful role in terms of governance, in terms of capacity to improve management of the companies, for example, for environment topics.
Dorothée is a partner at 21 Invest. Dorothée, how can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
Yeah, I think that we need to bring more and more value. That means that not only bringing financing needs, but also helping our entrepreneurs with differentiating themselves through build-ups, of course. But in 21 Invest, we believe in having operating partners who can help on sustainable topics, on having more and more structuration in terms of management, and helping to find ways to differentiate and to internationalize themselves.
Julien Godard, senior partner at Elevation Capital. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
So private equity is private by essence. To continue its growth, there is a strong need of transparency at least at fund levels. Of course, you cannot give all the information at company level, as price in private equity is a discovery process where not everything is on the table for everyone. But at fund level, you really need to give insights to people on what are the key performances and the type of risks that exists along with illiquidity and dispersion of performance. And it's really key to have more transparency, at least at fund level, for the whole industry.
Boris Bakesh, partner at C4 Venture. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
So I would say, in the field of VC, which is, the area I'm more familiar with, right? I would say, especially in the case for European VC, I think there's an angle when it comes to performance where we have a great ecosystem. We have everything we need to build. We have more than in the past than we need in terms of growth. Like we can now grow companies thanks to the great financial ecosystem which has been built. Now we need more, more access to liquidity. Like in the US, it's very, you can build great stories and take them liquid to public markets. In Europe, well, either you switch to the US or you can try to do it, but in many cases, and it becomes even more frequent, companies are outgrowing the capabilities of strategic acquirers or even private equity investors, and therefore we need like a public market which is more welcoming of tech propositions. This is, I think, one of the key weaknesses of Europe. It's something that we absolutely need to build in order to grow the European VC ecosystem in particular.
Stéphanie Hospital, partner at Water Time. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
Well, first of all, we have to impose private equity as one of the really good asset class where people can trust and invest with the perspective that their money will be well allocated and will give back money. And this is one of the issues we have today, as there's no transparency in the performance of funds. It's very hard to see who are the real winners. I mean, I can tell you that with one lifetime as with our model. I mean, we are seed stage funds. We invest in tech companies at seed stage, enabling investors to choose if they invest as a co-investors in our club deal or in our main funds. But what we see is that we deliver performance with exit, with IRR, with DPI. And when we compare that to many asset class, first of all, we realize that it's very hard to have real information of what is the true performance of real estates, of debt, of all the way you can allocate your money. And second, within the private equity industry, it's even worse, as there's no consensus of which KPI we should deliver. Hopefully, I mean, the Venture Capital Association, France Invest, and all those associations are trying to harmonize that. But for investors, at the end of the day, what you want to have is show me the money.
Thierry Chignon, managing partner at Merieux Equity Partners. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
Of course, there are several strategic approaches to be considered, such as digital technologies to enhance efficiency and optimize risk management, regional expansions and diversification of product offering, and usually utilizing adjacent asset classes, on strategic partnership and acquisition. By the way, for the latter, something we naturally have, since we are very close to the Merieux Group, which gives us a unique capability to enhance our international reach through their global networks. But I think we should always ensure the well-known back to the basics. Private equity shall remain essential for their LPs with higher performance, pioneering impact on biodiversity, increased transparency when compared to public markets. That's number one. Number two, private equity shall continue to support entrepreneurs and companies to boost their growth and ensure their perennity. Number three, private equity shall continue to focus on operational value creation. And I would say number four, private equity shall continue to attract and retain skilled talent. For me, those four criteria remain paramount.
Jean-Philippe Boage, partner at Reach Capital. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
That's my first knee-jerk reaction answer would be that the private market industry must evolve, and become like a collaborative engine for social transformation. So I guess it's a bit weird to say that, but I feel that private equity must go. All the market participants must go and try to work as if the industry would be a huge partnership across industries. So that could be an ecosystem of innovation. If you look at the VC space, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It feels that more and more the discussion that we have with GPs are based on they are very mission-driven players. We feel that the more it goes on the more we have like cultural factors entering into the investment strategies. If you go now, being like a big dog to the emerging markets, it's very likely that you need to integrate in your investment strategy things such as culture. The more it goes, and of course this industry returns is here for making returns, but it feels that we need to integrate more and more the cultural aspects of what we do.
Charles Soulard, country head France, Neuberger. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
I think it's already in a good shape. What we could do better is just trying to make sure that performance is going to be there around the corner. That's going to be the key. And I think something that private markets have discovered 5 years ago, I would say, that would be customer service. We're coming from far, I guess. There's maybe some progress to make again, but I think the asset management industry was very helpful in explaining to private markets professionals how to communicate. You need transparency, you need reporting, you need to speak with your client. You can't just, speak with your client when you're fundraising. So you need to be close to them and just make sure that everybody's happy at the end of the day.
Marc Lasserre, founder of SO Capital Advice. How can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth?
Well, I'm of the view that the private equity industry will develop a lot going forward. There is no reason to believe that access to private companies will not be larger going forward. We have the chance to work in mature markets like the US and Europe, but we are also working in emerging markets like Africa. And I think that what we have seen on the European continent over the past 20 years could also give us some good experience for emerging markets. And when I think about the last 20 years, I think that the information, the reporting realized by the private equity investor give more confidence to investor. And accordingly, I think that more and more people are considering the private equity industry because originally they saw that it was like gambling, and today they are confident that they could get nice return. And the experience we have got over the past 20 years tend us to believe that it's a good asset class, and it's also enable people to have access to the real economy. So there is no reason not to consider private assets more generally. And depending on your risk of appetite, you could invest in private debt or venture assets. I think that as long as private equity is giving more reports, more quarterly reports, I'm against short-term reports on a monthly basis, for example. But as long as we give reports to clients, we give them confidence, and the people are investing and maintaining their investment in the asset class.
Thank you for listening to Private Equity Vox. In this episode, we addressed how can private equity strengthen itself to continue its growth. 3 main points we identify there. First one is the necessity of clarity and benchmarking. Second one being seizing the technology opportunities through, but not limited to, AI and machine learning. Third point, we need to definitely improve and revisit the investors' relationship. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it on your networks, subscribe and leave us a kind comment. I'm Antoine Sage and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Private Equity Vox for another tête-à-tête with a key player in private equity.